You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming. It's Sunday Mounts Wood of the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you with the Let's Play episode of Polar Night. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alright. As soon as I ascended the stairs, Dana and June close behind. The stench of blood overwhelmed me again. My empty stomach lurched, nearly making me throw up. If I'd actually had that can of meat, I almost certainly would have. Oh my god, Joseph! Even Dana, who I'd assumed would be used to blood, was appalled, surveying the scene in open-mouthed shock. Joseph? Joseph! June dashed into the midst of the carnage, frantically searching for signs of him. It could be Rufus or Sharif. They weren't in their beds. Joseph! Sharif! Rufus! Can you hear us? Make a noise if you can hear us! The pair began to search, June frantically while Dana was more methodical. Around the various stations, looking under them and wherever there might be room for someone to lie injured. My own torch beam scanned the blood stain on the floor, following it off towards Dana, the door. She turned to look at me before following my gaze and my torch to the bridge wing door overlooking the starboard side of the ship. Wordlessly, we all ran to the door. It was being held shut by the fierce wind outside, but it had clearly been opened. Outside, the narrow walkway was covered in snow, but had been disturbed. Blood streaked a path through it toward the edge, where the blood had spattered against the side. God, do you think? Joseph! We all ran to the edge, peering over the railing and shining our torches down. The wing jutted out just enough that if someone had fallen or been thrown from here, they'd likely miss the iron deck entirely and plunge down into the snow that entombed her. The flurries and darkness prevented our torch beams from reaching more than a few feet. Even if they had landed on the deck, we couldn't see properly from here. Garrett! I felt a firm hand on my shoulder and she spun me around, bringing her face close to mine. Get the others! In the cabins! Wake them up and bring them to the mess hall! But I couldn't hide the terror on my face, and Dana, despite her commanding tone, had fear etched in her expression. I gulped, nodded, then turned and sprinted the stairway for the second time that night. The cabins looked even more of a mess as I dashed the corridor, screaming for people to wake up. I hammered on doors, pushing them open, yelling. Stefan responded first. He'd apparently claimed a cabin for himself and appeared at the door, his alarmed expression not hiding the exhausted bags under his eyes. Then Gale and Tabby, the latter angrily demanding to know what was going on, and finally Aaron. I ignored the protests and simply told them we had to get back to the mess hall. Surprisingly, they didn't argue. I didn't know if they saw my fear or perhaps thought we were being rescued. I didn't care. The sooner we were back in the shelter of the mess hall, the better. Fuck. When we got back, the lanterns had already been relit. Two people were waiting for us, but they weren't Dana or June. The hell you guys been? I started to think rescue'd come and nobody thought to tell us. What is the ruckus about? I heard Garrett screaming from halfway across the ship. I froze, staring at the pair of them as the others filed past me, still confused. Where the fuck have you two been? Rufus bristled and Sharif unfolded his arms, preparing to be insufferable when Dana and June slipped through the door. Whatever anger the two felt faded quickly into concern when they saw them. June was completely falling apart, tears streaming down her face, clinging to Dana. Gale dashed over and took her from Dana, holding her until she could guide her to a nearby bench to sit. June made no attempt to resist, sobbing softly. When she looked up and saw Rufus and Sharif, whatever hope she might have had that the blood belonged to one of them was torn from her, and she gave a wail of despair. Would someone please tell me what the fuck is happening? Joseph, oh god! Joseph is missing in the bridge. It's a bloodbath. A shock went through the room. Only June's sobs and the storm outside made any noise. A bloodbath? What are y'all talking about? Wait just a second. Where have you two been? All eyes turned to Rufus and Sharif, only this time their expressions were decidedly more fearful. Me? I got hungry and tried looking for more food. We'll all be starving soon with just that little box over there. I was in the laboratory. I was studying those carvings I found last night, before we turned in for the night. Can anyone else vouch for you? More silence. A pair of them glanced around at the accusing stares. Now wait just a minute. You cannot be seriously accusing me of harming Joseph. Three of you have been at each other's throats since we started this fucking trip. Just as everyone started speaking up, Dana barked. "Shut the fuck up!" She snarled, baring a tooth before calming. Aaron took a nervous step back. Before anyone starts pointing fingers, I want to remind everyone that the only person here who, as far as we know, does not have a motive against Joseph is June. So I think we should all start by establishing who has an alibi. It would seem that Rufus and Sharif, unless Rufus and Sharif have anything else to add, they do not. No, wait, just a goddamn. Well? They gave her a mutinous glares, but said nothing. I think it's safe to discount June for the time being. Garrett, who was in the room when you first woke up? Just you and June. And Tabby and Gail, did either of you leave your cabin during the night? No, I don't think so. No. She was firm, meeting Dana's gaze evenly. I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep at all. Gail didn't leave at all in the night, neither did I. And, no. Obviously it means Gail can't vouch for me, so add me to your pinboard of suspects. Fair enough. Aaron and Stefan? Who, me? Stefan hadn't been unusually quiet this whole time. In fact, I remembered he hadn't been at last night's meeting either. I was searching for most of the night. I don't remember exactly when, but I crashed out in one of the cabins when I found a working heater. I just went straight to sleep. I was knackered from last night, so I never woke up until I heard Garrett screaming. Wait, are we seriously suggesting someone here is a killer? Tabby. Instead of the usual sharp rebuke, she sounded more pleading. Fearful glances cast about as we all started to realize the ramifications. Not necessarily. What does that even mean? The bridge is saturated in blood. Whatever happened, it was incredibly violent, and we found evidence that the victim was either dragged or moved himself to the bridge wing and fell. So first question, who here is wearing different clothes? We all scanned each other. Everyone seemed to be wearing the same stuff they'd been wearing the night before. It's difficult to believe whoever attacked him managed it without getting any blood on themselves, especially if they then dragged Joseph to the bridge wing and threw him over. Sorry, y'all, it's late. If he was attacked by one of us, the killer could have worn something disposable. The ship has no shortage of spare clothing. Even so, it'd be incredibly difficult to avoid getting any specks of blood on them. So, we should check ourselves for signs of blood. Specifically, I will. Now wait a minute, who put you in charge? I'm a cop, and I have more of an alibi than you two do. But since the only person who we can be reasonably sure couldn't have killed him is in no position, then perhaps Gail. Gail looked up from hugging June, fright in her eyes. Me. And Garrett. For some reason this upset them more than suggesting Gail. Why him? Why are you so trusting of him all of a sudden? Because Garrett found the crime scene and came here to tell me and June. He also has the most sensitive nose here, so if anyone has blood scent on them. Oh, wait a second. I've been to the bridge twice now, so you, me, and June at least will stink of blood. I understand that, but we have to make do with what we have. You aren't touching me. He glared daggers at me. What the fuck was his problem? Do you think I wanted to do this? Dana, maybe I shouldn't. I'm sorry, are you saying you refuse to prove that you don't have any blood on you? I don't have to prove jack shit to you. As I recall, you chose to go to the cabin by yourself. What does that... So you not only have no one to give you an alibi, you were uniquely situated to slip away unnoticed, yes? Fuck you, you can't... Aaron, if you like, I can check you. I won't touch you at all, okay? Let's just get this over with. Who gave you the right to demand we prove ourselves? Are you saying you don't care if one of us is the killer? Of course that's not what I'm saying. Look, let me check first, Garrett. I got nothing to hide, and the sooner we all can all be sure, the sooner I'll be able to relax. She stepped forward, stretching her arms out by her sides like someone preparing to be frisked. With all eyes on me, I nervously began to scan her clothing. Start with the hands and wrists and work down. Aaron, shall we? No, I'm next. Get this bullshit out of the way. Using my beam, I scanned as closely as I could for signs of blood. I was careful not to touch her. Last thing I needed was for this to get confrontational. First her arms, then her back and torso, then her legs, and finally her boots. The entire time I sniffed as subtly as I could. The scent of blood was faint, but it wasn't coming from her. My stomach lurched as I realized it was coming from me. Regardless, I couldn't see a drop of blood. When When I straightened up and gave her a smile and nod, I couldn't tell which of us was the more relieved. One by one, each of us submitted to a search. Dana did Rufus, then Sharif, who insisted he would be next after Rufus. I searched Gail once she was done with Aaron, then Stefan. Finally, there was just me and Dana. Dana went first, Gail searching her methodically. My heart began to race. I knew I was innocent, but what if a speck got on me when I searched the bridge? Finally, Gail approached me. She gave me a haunted look. Clearly, she was as scared as I was, before I assumed the same pose everyone else had. She scanned my wrists. I clenched my teeth, aware everyone was watching. And she moved behind me, scanning my back before moving in front of me. I tried to avoid her eyes, fixing my gaze on the spot on the floor. As she moved down to my legs, my fear grew. I walked on the bloody floor. What if... My mouth was dry, and I determinedly refused to meet the eyes of the suspicious glares I was getting. Dana's sort of action for me had clearly not sat well with anyone else. Given her lack of tact, it could simply be she didn't think of it or didn't care, or maybe... She stood, sighing, and gave me a reassuring look. Clean! I returned a small smile, trying not to sigh in relief. So, we're all clean. And what does that mean? Well, it's not impossible, but it's unlikely any of us are responsible. But that leaves the question as to what happened to Joseph. Polar bears. They live around here? Wherever here is, I guess. Can I... June finally spoke up, her voice so soft it was barely a whisper. I want to look for him. June, my dear, if what Dana's described is true, then I have to find him. She was louder now, rising to her feet with a furious gleam in her eye. All this talk, you don't know if he's dead. You didn't find his body. You didn't even try to look. June. No, none of you actually give a shit. You're all just trying to clear your own guilt. I'm going to find him. June, if he wasn't attacked by one of us, and whatever it was is still out there, then help me! In a flash, her anger morphed to desperate pleading. She turned to Gail, gripping her shoulders and begging. Please, someone, just help me look, please! An uncomfortable silence fell as she looked at each of us in turn in entreaty, tears silently pouring down her cheeks. I'll help you. He stepped over to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. We'll find him, so keep your chin up, okay? This was very different Stefan from the previous night, searching for his brother. If he was acting, he was good at it. For the first time since our grisly discovery, I thought I saw her smile slightly. Damn, Stefan really knew how to step up. Alright, guess we can form a search party. Are you insane? After everything we just... Iran looked at June. She gazed imploringly back, begging silently. Aaron melted, shame creeping across his face as he turned his gaze from her. Alright, y'all, I'm actually going to pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I love you all, and I shall see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!